welcome back to ML Art Life. I wanted to talk about commissions as an artist. I see a lot of people doing commissions, and I personally don't do commissions. I don't like to do commissions. I'm not saying I've never done a commission, I have done a few. I don't like doing them. And I don't think you have to do commissions to have success as an artist. It is one way to bring in revenue, yes, but I feel like if it doesn't bring you joy, then you shouldn't do commissions. That's just my personal feeling. And you will a lot of times have a request for commissions. I've had requests for commissions, and one of them was like for a flower thing. I had done this kind of like textured flower. They asked me for specific colors. So they didn't like ask me to do a completely different thing. They asked me for different colors in the thing. And I had happened to make multiples of these textured flowers that just needed to be painted. So it actually worked out perfectly that I would do these commissioned colors because I had already had the pre-made flowers that I had already created that I just needed to paint with these specific colors. So that was a commission I was willing to do because I felt like it wouldn't be hard for me, and it was already my design or whatever. But when it comes to people, like I had a lady ask me to make this like scene one time. It was years and years ago, and it's not even in my wheelhouse. Like the painting was like a scene with like a horse and like a girl, like a woman. It was just totally not something I would paint like at all. And it was so struggly for me. And I don't even know what this painting looks like anymore. Like I have no idea how it even looks. It looks probably terrible. But it was so difficult for me to create this thing. I just have no desire to do this. I don't know if other artists feel this way, but I want to make what I want to make. That's probably one of the artist struggles, I would say, is because most of us want to create what we want to create, and we sort of see this commission thing as a way for income. But I don't think it's worth it, to be honest, because I really feel like if it feels like a struggle to me, then it's not worth it. And I feel like also too, like that limitation thought, like I feel like that's like a limiting belief. We need to do these things we don't like to get income as artists. I'm not buying that story. I don't want to buy into that story that we have to do things we don't like for money. That I feel is a limitation program personally that a lot of us bought into because it's very common. It's a very common belief that we have to do things we don't like for money. This is why I don't do commissions or like to do commissions. And I also feel like for me, it infringes on my creativity too much. When somebody else has a vision of what they want and they are just basically using my hands or skill in a sense to make the thing, then I feel like it's not my thing. It's not my original concept. It's not my original, idea. And it's just they want this, your skills to make the thing, almost like as if you're like a printer printing out the image. Some people might disagree with this and they might love commissions. And the thing is, that's fine. Like I don't feel like it's bad to do commissions if you love doing them. But if you don't love doing them, I don't feel like it's necessary to do them. Coming to the point where I'm just going to maybe say to people, I don't do commissions. And I will say that. I mean, with that flower situation, that was the last commission thing I did in the recent past. I didn't mind doing that because for the reasons I mentioned. I don't want to do these types of things where it's like, can you put this on there? Could you paint this? Because to me it's like, well, you should paint it then. Like I don't want to paint your image in your mind that you want. I mean, some people like to do portraits and things of that nature. And in that way, I would say, yeah, commissions make sense because you want a portrait of yourself or somebody or a pet or something on your wall. And so, yeah, you want it to be your pet. That makes sense. And if people, so there are people that just do those types of commission pieces and that's their art, and that's totally awesome for them. But it's just not my thing. And I think this is like an important thing when it comes to art and like having boundaries with your art and what you're willing and not willing to do. I just wanted to like talk about the subject a little bit because I'm thinking about this lately for some reason. I see a lot of stuff online of like, oh, I'm doing this commission. And it's like, I don't want to do commissions. Like, I really don't want to do commissions. When somebody asks me to do a commission, I literally feel inside like this clamping up feeling of like, ugh, that feels struggly. And I feel like that's what I'm trying to follow in my life, is like that intuitive voice inside that says, this feels struggly, this feels aligned, this feels easeful, this feels not easeful. And I feel like we're so disconnected from that voice within us because we are taught and we have these conditioned ideas that we have to do struggly things to be successful. And imagine if, I was thinking about this earlier today, and I feel like this goes along with the video in a sense, is that if we were conditioned to follow our dharma, which is our like life purpose or our true passions in our earlier in our lives, and that's all we were conditioned to focus on, we would never have this idea that I have to do struggly things that aren't aligned to make money and to be prosperous. The only reason we think that is because we've been conditioned to think that we have to do struggly things that aren't aligned to be prosperous. And I think that if we had different beliefs, that we would have different success. We would have passion and aligned action with prosperity. They would go together. They would be, symbiotic. It wouldn't be this like you can have either or. You can have prosperity and struggle, or you can have passion and alignment and poverty. That's crazy. Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, saying that out loud, that sounds insane. This is why I don't do commissions, because I personally feel that they are not aligned with my creative vision and what I intend to do with my artwork. If that changes, it changes. But for now, that's not something that lights me up. So I'm not going to do them. So if you're an artist and you're thinking about, should I do commissions or not? I would ask that question. Does this feel aligned? Is it fun? Do I enjoy commissions? If you enjoy them and they're a blast for you and you love it, and you get to reveal this awesome thing to the person you just created for them, and that lights you up, that's awesome. But if it feels struggly and it feels misaligned and it feels like drudgery, then I would say it's a no. That's how I feel about it, and I'm kind of sharing my thoughts on that. So if you like this content, like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.